Business risk. We wish they never existed, but they do. For the next little while, we're talking about this business risk that is often not ignored by CEOs. It's often ignored by you for various reasons. And it is a business risk that does impact your company in a big way. What is that business risk? That is the risk of how well your company will survive if you are not around. That risk is the risk that your company will not survive effectively if you are not around. And if you look at your company's operation now, you can see little signs of that risk. It could be you go off for a day and there's so many bottlenecks. It could be that there are major, no, I'm not going to say I'm major with using major with caution, but there's certain decisions that are to be made that has to wait on you. And these are I'm not talking big decisions such as should we purchase this company, should we, you know, invest in this market or do this proposal, but little decisions such as do we purchase this type of stationery or little decisions. So there are bottlenecks because you are not available. And you see this risk also. Let's say you are sick or you go on vacation. There's so much that is at a standstill waiting on you to get back. Another way you'll find this risk being, shown in your company is where you will find that if there are certain decisions that are to be made or certain processes that have to be carried out, no one really knows. They have to come to you as a CEO and say, how is this done? Or so. And for bigger companies, bigger corporations, you will find it in the various departments where it could be, let's say, I can use even, I'm trying to say which department to use. Let's say marketing or even accounting or HR, you find that you don't have that job rotation. So if one person is not around, a lot of that their task at a standstill. Nobody else knows how to do that task, and this is a very very risky situation for your company to be in. The other day, I did a poll on LinkedIn, and I asked, "How long could your company survive if you're not around?" And the responses were pretty interesting because it was an eye opener for a lot of persons because they realized that I'm operating my company, and if I'm not around, it can't go on. Things are at a standstill. So it is a very, very, very risky situation to be in. It's a risk that is often overlooked, right? It impacts your company in a big way, and yet still it's overlooked. There's no what's the word I'm going to say? There's no mitigation of that risk. So it's there's no system or plan in place to mitigate that risk. We can never eliminate risk, but we try to mitigate them, just like with fraud as well. So what is it that you as a CEO can do to mitigate this risk? Number one, the first step is assess your company, assess your business, look at how the operations flow. Do you find that if you again go off on a holiday, or if you know you are sick for one day or at a seminar or training, or you just probably want to start late for the day or something like that, things are at a standstill and there are a lot of bottlenecks. People have to keep saying, how is this done? Can you make this decision? That is a red flag for you, right? So assess, look within your company, in the next few days, look at how things are done. How many times are things at a standstill because they need your input? The other thing is, number two is, after you've done that, then take the next step, which is to set up systems and processes to mitigate this risk. That looks different depending on where you are. I know there are some companies where there's one CEO, you're the sole operator. You might have uh, admin or certain accounting functions that you outsource. However, it is time to set up systems and processes to mitigate that. It could be a succession plan, it could be an exit strategy. What ultimately do I want to happen in this company, right? Do I want to have another me come on board to take over, or do you want to have outsourcing? Think about ultimately what you want to be happening in your company. For the bigger companies, it's time to, have job rotations. It's time to have manual systems, processes, so that as much as possible, the standards and the operating standards, financial standards are documented so that it's, steps for certain tasks are documented. So it eases that bottleneck when somebody's not around or when somebody new comes on, and if you're not around too. So action. So to quickly those 2 points. Number one, assessing what's happening, and number two, taking action to start mitigating that risk, lower that risk. So I'm curious to hear, how are you feeling about this risk in your company? Does this resonate with you? Please state where you're coming from. Please share this broadcast, because this risk impacts every operation, every company, every business. You might say, okay, I have somebody who's my assistant. However, that doesn't mean that if you're really not around, things are flowing, and there's always room for improvement as well. So that is what I do. That's my suggestion this time, depending on where you're in the world. I was gonna say morning, but I know we have multiple time zones. So there are so many different time zones and locations right now. So that is what I do recommend. I do suggest that you take a look at this risk. How is it impacting your company? How is it impacting your business? Do remember to share this broadcast as well. And if you have any questions, state them in the comments, or feel free to send me a message if you want to continue discussing this risk and see what are the steps for me. What is it? How does it apply to my specific situation? And do remember, as I close out, that we'll never eliminate risk. We try to mitigate it. And I know those in the legal area will realize that there's so many things that go wrong when there are not plans in place for your company. There are not plans in place for your business. You don't have systems and processes. Things are all, you're operating the business out of your head. That's it. Yes, that is a huge risk. So I'll be signing off, and do remember, if you do want to, you can send me a message at 888-521-4206 as well. And signing off in 3, 2, 1. Bye, guys.